When I first started searching for my biological father, I thought maybe I would find him within a few months, but that search would end up lasting nearly 2 decades. And during those early years, while I was trying to figure out who my father was, I was also struggling to figure out who I was. After my mom told me the small amount of information she knew about my father, I decided I was going to try to find him, even though the clues were limited. I felt like there had to be a way. But as time passed after that night, I started realizing just how much that moment had changed my life. Finding out that Alan wasn't my biological father didn't just leave me wondering who my real father was. It made me start questioning everything about where I fit in my family. The cousins I had grown up with suddenly weren't really my cousins. The aunts and uncles I thought I was related to weren't actually related to me either. Even my grandparents, and I remember having this overwhelming sense of disbelief. How could something so big about my life have been hidden from me for so long? Another thought started creeping into my mind too. Who knew the truth? Had people in my family known this my whole life and kept it a secret from me? And if they had, what did that mean for how they saw me? Would they treat me differently now that I knew? Would I still belong the same way I always had? At 14 years old, those questions were overwhelming, and I didn't really know how to process something that big. At the same time, I still didn't know who my biological father was. So I started trying to find him. I went to libraries and spent hours looking through old newspapers, hoping I might come across the article my mom had once saved about him opening his restaurant. Page after page, I searched, but I never found it. Back then, phone books were something everyone used. Every year, a big one would arrive in the mail. So I started calling numbers, any last name that sounded even close to what my mom had tried to pronounce. I called. Sometimes I would reach answering machines, sometimes people would answer, and every time I would explain that I was trying to find someone who had been a chef at a restaurant in the 1980s. But none of those calls ever led anywhere. Eventually, I tried something even more unusual. One day, while I was in Toronto, I found a Greek phone book at a coffee shop, and I remember thinking, maybe his last name is in here. So I started calling names from that phone book too. Looking back now, it probably sounds a little crazy, but when you're searching for someone you've never met and you have almost no information, you start trying anything you can think of. But during those years, something else was happening in my life too. The confusion and emotional weight I was carrying after learning the truth about my father started affecting me more and more. I was angry. I was confused. And honestly, I felt lost. Instead of dealing with those feelings in a healthy way, I started acting out. Within a couple of years, I had become what most people would probably describe as a troubled teenager. I ended up getting kicked out of high school before I turned 16. And not long after that, my life changed again. I became pregnant. I was just 17 years old when I became a mom. Looking back now, I can see how much the confusion and emotional weight I was carrying at that age played a role in the choices I was making. At the time, though, I was just trying to figure out who I was and where I belonged. But even through all of that, the question about my father never really went away. No matter what was happening in my life, part of me still wondered if I would ever find him. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so you can keep following along.